This audit looked at whether tram services are meeting the accessibility needs of passengers with mobility restrictions. We looked at whether the Department of Transport, or DOT, and Yarra Trams are meeting legislative requirements under the Disability Standards for Accessible Public Transport, or DSAPT, to provide accessible tram infrastructure by 31st December 2022 and accessible trams by 31st December 2032. We also looked at whether DOT and Yarra Trams have a plan to make the tram network more accessible. Tram services are not meeting the needs of passengers with mobility restrictions. A low-floor tram needs to meet a level access stop to practically enable tram access for people with mobility restrictions, such as wheelchair users. In 2018-19, only 15% of tram services had a low-floor tram departing from a level access stop. DOT has not met the legislated targets for accessible tram infrastructure, and there is no realistic prospects that it can comply by 31st December 2022. DOT's lack of a finalised strategy or a funded plan means it does not know when all tram services will be fully compliant with the Disability Discrimination Act, or DDA, and the DSAPT. Non-compliance with federal and state legislation poses a financial risk to the state due to possible rulings against it. Federal and state legislation views accessibility from a perspective of avoiding discrimination. The federal DDA and the Victorian Equal Opportunity Act both make it unlawful for an operator or provider of public transport to discriminate against a person with disability. The federal DSAPT outlines design standards to ensure public transport is accessible. It gives public transport operators and providers certainty about how they can meet their DDA obligations. Melbourne has the world's largest tram network, consisting of 24 tram routes running on 250 kilometres of double track, servicing 1,669 stops. Upgrading tram stops to meet accessibility requirements can be complex. It involves coordination with local councils and road traffic authorities, and potential construction constraints due to heritage rules or site geography. To date, DOT and Yarra Trams have delivered level access tram stops to 27% of the tram network. When combined with 38% of the tram fleet being low floor, our data analysis shows that only 15% of all tram services in 2018-19 were accessible in a meaningful sense for passengers with mobility restrictions. If DOT continues the current low-floor tram delivery rate, our analysis shows it will not meet the 31st December 2032 target of 100% accessible and DSAPT compliant trams. DOT has focused on implementing level access stops and low-floor trams. Although these are key practical enablers of DSAPT compliance, they alone do not fully meet DSAPT. DOT does not know the extent of its compliance with DSAPT because of gaps in the accuracy, completeness, and reliability of its data. DOT does not have conclusive plans for how it will create an accessible tram network 18 years after DSAPT was first enacted. DOT's strategy to roll out level access stops will not be complete until June 2021. This leaves only a further 18 months to the DSAPT compliance deadline, and 1,215 non-level access stops to be rectified at an estimated cost of $2 billion. DOT's failure to follow legislation and deliver accessible tram services means that it is not supporting all members of society to access Melbourne's tram network on a non-discriminatory basis. We made 10 recommendations to DOT relating to tracking the tram network's level of compliance with DSAPT, commissioning legal advice and advising government on the implications of non-compliance, understanding the accessibility gap and the costs and benefits of an accessible tram network, improving public information about accessible tram services, and better aligning programs to maximize and improve accessibility outcomes. For more information on this report, please see the full report at our website www.audit.vic.gov.au. We encourage you to use our interactive map, which shows the proportion of accessible tram services for your nearest location and the additional time a passenger needs to wait for a low-floor tram.